There you go.
And we're live. We are. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hello. We are live. I am Yolanda Harper, co-founder of Harper Therapy, here with Dr. Giara Blanco, and we are in kind of the reception area of our Harper Therapy office, appropriately distanced. Mm-hmm. But we thought that we'd shake things up a little bit and kind of come live from here because it is Groundhog Day, and as much as we can vary things,
to shake things up
a little bit. But we were just getting ready to come on live, and we really connect with today's topic. And one of the benefits to me of doing these lives daily is that it's a way that we can serve our community during this time. But it's also a reminder to myself.
Care, compassion, and identifying areas that we need to continue growing and working with.
Yeah, some of the things that are helpful, to us personally as we all are navigating through this. So, we are in a unique time in just not only our community's history, the nation's history, a global history. Yes. This pandemic is hitting all of our feels, and especially as a collective trauma, anxiety. We are all experiencing anxiety, even those of us who don't typically kind of sit in that space are experiencing anxiety. And it's interesting because anxiety, of all of the emotions that we feel, is probably the most
kind of grabs you.
Well, it grabs you, and it's the most contagious.
Yes.
Right? So it's like that energy that we all are picking up on. And so today we're going to talk about 2 ways that we kind of navigate through that feeling of anxiety.
Brene Brown, and as many of you know, we are followers of Brene Brown's work. She talks about over-functioning and under-functioning when we are faced in a situation of anxiety or a situation of stress like the one that we're living now. And we were actually talking before we started. It's like, yes, I identify with this, and we're going to share with you today. When a situation arises, like the pandemic right now, we have 2 types of responses usually. Overfunctioners tend to say, let me assess the situation, let me multitask, let me get things done, let me get that list, that checklist, let's do everything, and people have to live up to my standards, and you're micromanaging other people, and you're telling people what to do, and you're getting angry at people. Sorry, babe, because I did that last time. And then...
Can you tell that we were both overfunctioners?
Yes. And then that creates an environment of more anxiety in the household.
It spins it up.
Yes.
Yeah.
However, the overfunctioner truly does believe that what they're doing is helping to alleviate the situation.
Well, and I will say, as an overfunctioner, we believe that until we've spun ourselves into exhaustion.
Yes.
And snapping people's heads off, right? Being irritable. And then we're like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah.
I went into overfunctioning mode.
Yeah. And it's just recognizing these are the patterns that we, a lot of this comes from the way that we grew up, the way that we learned how to navigate through these feelings, right?
Yes.
Because they're uncomfortable. And
it's a pattern that we carry from our family of origin. So the interesting thing is that overfunctioners never arrive into the scenario by themselves. We usually pair up. We are usually paired up with people that fall into the role of under-functioning, which are the people that when anxiety hits tend to go into a space of feeling all the emotions, feeling very overwhelmed by the emotions, which then takes away their ability to be competent, to show up. They tend to do less, which makes the overfunctioner go into overdrive. And then they kind of feed off of each other. It's reciprocal.
And if you're feeling this in your home right now, as we are all kind of in that space together, day in and day out, more so than ever before, that's where we can really relate to this, because in our families and our homes, we are noticing these patterns, and it is just being aware of them so that you can kind of show up in this space differently.
Yes, and understanding that this is not something that we do consciously. That's why we're bringing this information. It's something that we have either inherited because we saw it in our parents, we saw it in our family of origin dynamics. This is where we came from, and we tend to fall into those roles. Sometimes even pointed out, like when you were a kid and you were in school and teacher would say, okay, little Johnny, you are in charge of making sure that everybody's in a line when the fire drill goes off. Little Johnny is now an overfunctioner.
Yeah. And we talked about how it is kind of comes from our family of origin. A lot of that can be kind of our line and family dynamics, right?
Yes.
So firstborns,
first girls tend to be overfunctioners.
Yeah. And middle and younger children tend to be the underfunctioners, and that kind of tends to be in our families of origin kind of reinforced. It can be.
Yes.
So all of that plays in, and it might be some dynamics that you're noticing right now in your home, in your relationships. And what do we do with this?
Yeah, so what do we do with that? The first step is kind of becoming aware, where am I in this spectrum of overfunctioner and underfunctioner? And when it happens, when you happen to realize, oh, I snapped at my significant other, kind of coming back and saying, you know what, I'm sorry. I just realized that I was in overfunctioning mode, or I realized that I was in underfunctioning mode. And having the conversation with your partner, with your children, with your family members, and saying, this is something that I am acknowledging, and I am going to try to get into a space where it doesn't overwhelm us and it doesn't overtake the interactions that we're having.
Yeah, and I think as you know, as an overfunctioner, that is a space that we can recognize that's our tendency, and then we can kind of, as we're heading into these situations, say, I know my tendency is to overfunction, so let me kind of pause when I'm wanting to jump into action.
Yes.
And say, is this really going to be helpful?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it kind of, and I'm going to share, I had a conversation the other day with my beloved, and I was having an argument with myself, with him, about organizing the room. No need to go into that. Why did that happen? I realized I was going into overfunctioning. I was micromanaging. I was not giving him the opportunity to be who he is during this time of anxiety, and I just wanted to jump in.
It's understandable why we jump into that space, right? Because we are all grasping for just elements and things that we can control.
Yes.
Right? And, you know, part of this is like there are some things through this crisis that we are not able to control. And how can we create that space so that we can be the best version of ourselves possible, so that there's not ongoing damage and injuries to our relationships.
Exactly.
Any tips for the underfunctioner?
For the underfunctioner, then it would be kind of becoming aware how you fall into the underfunctioning role. Is it because you have been, throughout your life, been able to sit back because older sister, older siblings took care, or parents took care? If you notice that you are going into underfunctioning mode and feeling all the emotions, it's okay to sit with the emotions. Journal through it. Let your partner, let your family members know, hey, I'm in a big emotions kind of a space right now. Let me go through this. Give me a few hours, and then I can do something that will add into the value of what we're trying to achieve, or maintain a sense of stability in the household.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times it is helpful as an underfunctioner, if we are kind of in that space, to kind of set some limits for ourselves as far as how long we need to be in the emotion, but we also need to be mindful and not get kind of stuck and swimming around in it. And, you know, how do I break down the task into something that is a little bit more bite-sized, a little bit more manageable, so that I can kind of start the gears spinning. Yeah.
So instead of cleaning and organizing the office, start with, I'm going to look at the first drawer and organize that. That's it.
Yeah.
And giving yourself time for that. And it's okay. Like for overfunctioners and underfunctioners, it is okay to feel what you're feeling right now. We want to validate that. This is just an exercise of awareness and shifting into a middle ground where underfunctioners and overfunctioners can actually meet and hug.
Yeah. Well, it is. Unless we're aware of the feelings,
Yes.
then it just comes out sideways. So this is an invitation to just kind of take another look at these dynamics,
Yes.
right? And so that we can create a new path to a new way. Awesome. Thank you for your tips.
You're welcome.
It's very helpful for me today.
Yes. For me too.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you're finding these tips helpful, then please share them. I mean, we are here to be a resource to the community for hope and healing and growth through this difficult time. If you are needing some support, please reach out, whether it be to your individual support system, to a therapist. We're here to help. Now's not the time to put our mental and emotional well-being on the back burner.
It should be front and center right
Front
now.
and center. So much love to everyone. Stay well, and let's take care of each other.
Yep.
Talk to you guys soon.